Welcome back to the Prosperous Life Podcast, everyone. Thank you so much for showing up. Today it is my goal, as well as my guest goal, to help you begin living inside your potential. Now, whether you believe you have potential or not, you have potential. We all have a level of potential, and you're either living below it or above it. And the choice is yours. It's very rare that somebody is living the potential right along their potential. It's generally they're living above or below. With that in mind, Camren, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, man. Super happy to be here. It's excited.
It's so good to have you. This has been months coming.
I know. Yeah, it really has.
Well, we don't need to tell the story of what first happened.
Yeah.
Coming over, equipment not working. That's right. Okay. That's part of the journey, right?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. No. And then I had to reschedule like twice. So
we're here, though.
Okay.
And
Yep.
It's always been top of mind.
Yep.
100%. So today we're talking about getting people to their potential.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about why that topic is important to you.
I've always thought like I'm capable of so much more than what I'm doing right now. But what is that? So I'd always just daydream of, sometimes it was as a little kid, like sometimes I thought like my potential is like I'm going to be super strong like my dad, or I'm like my potential is I'm going to be like a really good parent like my mom and dad, or I'm gonna be a football player or something like that. And I just saw those things as my potential. So I think that's kind of where it comes from. Just as a little kid, I was always fascinated with what can I do, like what can I really like become.
Sure. So growing up, do you feel like you were growing up in an environment that allowed you to reach your full potential?
Yeah, I think that I was raised in an environment that encouraged that. I grew up with loving parents that gave me lots of opportunities to learn, to grow, and to do things on my own, and then they would guide me through things, and so it was definitely a great foundation for me to be able to start to step into who I am and what my potential is. And what I believe is that my potential is forever growing as well.
Sure.
Like the expansion, I think Ed Milet puts it that he's always looking to expand his being. Like he's always trying to expand himself, and so I think that that's in all of us. That specifically talking about myself, like I have the opportunity and the ability to continue to expand who I am. And so my potential is way more than what I thought it was a year ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
So in your lifetime, do you feel like you've always been living up to your potential, or do you feel like there's times that you haven't been living up to your potential?
Oh, definitely times I haven't. Yeah. I mean, lots of times that I haven't. In fact, I've been really critical of myself in the times that I haven't. But I think that's all part of being able to unlock that potential. In my opinion, we go through struggles, we go through trials, we go through failures and mistakes so that we can then see those and take it up to the next level, grow from it, and be able to unlock a little bit more of that potential.
So here's this just came to mind, and so forgive me for my thinking out loud.
No, do it.
What if the mistakes, the failures, and all those missteps were part of somebody's potential? So even if somebody, I guess what I'm saying here is I feel like you're very aware if you're not living up to your potential.
Sure.
For instance, I'm consciously choosing to do this habit. I'm consciously choosing not to do what's right for me. I'm constantly choosing to put my hand in the cookie jar every single day, even though I want to lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's not living your potential.
Exactly.
But to me, if I'm striving to live a prosperous life, if I'm striving to transform my life, and I put my hand in the cookie jar once, what if that is a part of your potential because it's allowing you to grow? Like, oh, I just put my hand in the cookie jar. That caused me pain, so I'm not going to do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. If we're constantly in a state of perfection or euphoria or whatever, then there's no growth in that. Like, that's why I think a growth mindset and humble mindset with that is so important.
Yeah, I love that. So when was the first time you had the feeling of, wow, I'm not living in my full potential right now?
Oh man. Honestly, like I said, I've always been pretty critical of myself. Even at a young age, there were lots of times where, whether it was that I just was real sensitive to a football coach telling me that I didn't do a good job with something, or whatever it was, I really like took it to heart and was like, man, I'm not what I should be or what I could be. And there's a difference, I think, between seeing that, hey, I'm not living up to my potential, and just beating up on ourselves, right?
Sure.
And so that's why I like what you said, that part of that living up to your potential is sometimes making a mistake, sometimes having a misstep or a drawback. And so, but yeah, I probably a pretty young age. I mean, I'd say probably 8 or 9. I probably was like, oh man, I'm not living up to what I could be. And so,
what do you think caused that? Like what? And just, this is also, let me share you with my thoughts too, because I see this in everything, even outside of potential. Mm-hmm. When we're born in a blank canvas, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with us as a baby. We're pure.
Yep.
At that point. I mean, maybe depending on how your parents were, my parents were, anybody's parents that's listening to this, as soon as you're conceived, obviously you start feeling your mom's emotions and whatever's going around your mom.
Yeah.
But the moment that you're born, you're blank canvas. And as we grow old, to me, somebody or something, whether it was a parent, sibling, family member, friend, maybe even music or a movie we watched, had to instill that we're not living up to our potential.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that was just a natural characteristic of yours to feel like you weren't living up to your potential, or do you feel like that came from something else?
Like you said, I think that we're influenced by everything around us, all the time. We learn from our parents, even if we're subconsciously learning from them, or they're even subconsciously teaching us. Like being a parent myself, and just I have one little girl, and there's so many times that I catch myself and I go, I wasn't even trying to teach her a lesson, teach her something here, but she just said something that I said earlier that I probably don't want her to be saying or even thinking or something like that. And I didn't realize she was listening. And so, yeah, I would say that, that I definitely took things around me, whether it was things that, I wanted to impress or please my dad or my mom, or like I said, coaches when I was playing, football or soccer, even just at a young age. I had a natural ability to want to please people. And so I think that there was a bit of I'm not living up to what my potential is, because there's 2 parts to this. So I know I'm jumping a little bit, but there's
no, please. It's following the same topic, and I'm loving this.
So there's one part is I kind of started to have a belief that not only was I not living up to my potential, but I wasn't enough because I felt like I wasn't. So that was a belief that I started to take on, that held me up, in my opinion, held me up from being able to reach towards my potential. If I don't feel like I'm enough, if I don't love myself, it's really hard to access that potential that's inside us. And so that was one part of it. But the other part is I had people in my life that just loved me so much and saw that potential in me. My parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, even siblings from a young age that saw potential in me and saw, great things about me. And I wanted to live up to that. And so when there were times that I would make a mistake, like you said, put that hand in the cookie jar, I was really sensitive to that. And I was like, I did not live up to what they see in me. So I think that kind of instilled a desire, and also a kind of a battle inside me of battling this. I'm not enough. I have this potential, and in this moment I didn't live up to it. Therefore I'm not enough. Battling that, but also going, I have a lot inside me. My parents, my family, people around me believe in me and see something great in me. So I can keep working towards that. I don't know if that makes sense. But.
Of course. Is it okay to go even deeper on this one?
Yeah, let's do it.
When in the past, and obviously this is past tense, this isn't necessarily where you're at right now. I just want to make that very clear to everybody.
Sure. No, you're good, yeah.
When you were growing up, was your potential based upon what you wanted for yourself or what you felt others wanted for you?
When I was growing up, I would say that the majority of it was what I felt others wanted for me. That was something that I struggled with for a long time, was thinking this is what my family wants, or this is what, like I said, coaches or teachers or people that I really loved and respected, what I felt like they wanted of me. And what they wanted of me were all good things, were all things that build me up and make me better. But I would just feel really down if I didn't make it, or I didn't live up to that in a moment.
Of course. So growing older through teenage or 20s, what pain did that cause you in your life?
I think that a lot of times it just made it so that because I was so worried about what people wanted of me and not as much about what I truly wanted, it made it so that in general, I knew, that I'm a son of God, that I'm someone that, has potential, that can do good things. But every time that I made a mistake, I just was really burned in me, I guess, is what I'd say. And it made it so that because I didn't have it as much for myself, I had it to an extent, but not as powerfully of what I truly wanted for me. I didn't allow myself to really get deep with that. Sometimes I felt a little bit lost. Like I knew God was there for me. I knew my parents were there for me. I knew all of that was there, but sometimes I felt like, what do I really want? I know I want to be a dad. I know I want to be a husband, but what do I really want out of my life? So yeah, there's definitely some pain there, that confusion, feeling of lost, things like that.
So when was that moment that you were like, I'm done with carrying this weight? When was that? Do you remember that moment that you're like, I'm ready to start transforming my life?
For me, it's been more of a gradual process throughout my life of ups and downs and struggles and trials, as everybody has, right? And just slowly realizing hey, I'm better than this, or I do want this in my life. There's a piece of my puzzle. I do want that. So I'll start working towards that. In recent years, I've made a lot of, put some real intention into trying to understand that. And so I will say, especially in the past year, I've made some big strides with that in understanding really who I am, and really with that, the potential that I have, the potential that is born in me, that really I feel that everyone is born with the potential to do incredible things. It doesn't matter the circumstance that we're in. It doesn't matter how we were born. It doesn't matter who our parents were. It doesn't matter how much money we had growing up. It doesn't matter how old we are now. Everybody was born with incredible potential to do great things with their life.
Amen to that. So how has that felt? The little transformations, how has that influenced your life? What are the feelings that you experience now that you're beginning the process? Like you said, our potential is forever growing. How has it felt going along the journey of reaching your potential?
It's a whole different world for me. I cannot say anymore that I don't know what I want, or I can't say anymore in my life that in general that I'm lost, or that I don't know what to do. I know who I am. I know what my purpose is, and with that, I have a much better idea and vision of what I'm capable of. I don't have to live an average life, because living an average life means that I'm choosing average. I can choose so much more. I've been blessed with so much more. So why would I take all these blessings that I'm being blessed with and just set them aside and say, no, I want average? I'm born for greatness. Let's step into that.
Of course. It's my firm belief that everybody was gifted a destiny from God. Destiny, there's a lot of opinions around it.
Sure.
My personal opinion, God gifted you a destiny for who you could fully become and all that you could achieve. And it's a choice of whether you get there or you don't.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Everybody's the only people that says they're self-made are self-made millionaires. The truth is everybody's self-made.
Sure.
It's just the people that struggle that don't want to admit it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that. You're self-made, whether you're just in a general sense, in a positive way or a negative way, you're self-made. Yeah.
And that applies to every area, right?
Exactly.
The millionaire could obviously be fat and be like, oh, I'm big boned. It's no, you're self-made there too, buddy.
It kind of goes along with you are what you eat, but it applies to more than just nutrition and food and things like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've obviously gone through this journey of feeling like you're not living your full potential, feeling like you're not enough. You've experienced the pain, the pleasure of growth. You've completed that process. You're just forever going along that process of living up to your potential. How did you start to transform your life? And this can be from past to current.
Yeah.
What have you done to transform yourself in order to begin living your potential?
So, like we said, we've, throughout my life, I've done, different things, and I would be doing myself a disservice, not giving myself credit to say that throughout my life, up until the last year or two, I've just not made strides and made progress towards that. I did, but I'll talk specifically to essentially this last year. The things that have made the major difference in my life there have been a couple of words that come to mind. One is intentionality. Living an intentional life, that made all the difference in the world. I was invited to, it was a personal development. It was pitched to me as a business event, like, this will help your business, and it absolutely is true. But I found that it was more tailored to me as an individual and building myself up, and I went to that and I was like, holy cow! Like, I started to see a bit more of my potential and who I am and what I could do, and it was kind of cool because I saw that and I went, I feel really, really like fulfilled. I felt passion. I felt kind of on fire with it. And I was like, okay, so how do I keep duplicating this? And I realized I've got to be intentional about the things that I bring into my life, the things that I read, the things that I listen to, the things that I do when I wake up in the morning, I just realized that I've got to be intentional. And so that honestly, was kind of the first thing. Was I can say that in general throughout my life I had kind of lived a go with the flow. There were times where I really was intentional about things, but for the most part I can say that I was, at least at the time, was living a very like go with the flow. Things were happening and I would just kind of let it happen and keep moving forward. But I realized I have so much more control. I get to create this life that I'm living. So anyways, being intentional was huge with that.
I love that. I'm going to bring it back to the point. I have 2 points that I want to share here.
Okay.
One, I want to bring back to the point that this event was pitched to you to grow your business, and you talked about it being based upon you. I have this quote right here that I wrote is, if you're here, you might as well become who you're destined to be to do the things that you're destined to do.
Yeah.
I'm a 100% believer that you have to become more to achieve more.
Absolutely.
It is very I gotta say, and this is a strong statement, I would bet all of my money in my bank account right now and more that every single person that starts to try to achieve more before they become more, they may have short-term success, but they always come back down to their standard.
Absolutely.
So I love that. And what I also heard is that your potential, really the core of potential is being intentional. As long as you're intentional every single day, naturally you're going to accomplish your potential. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's cool about it, the other part that really made a huge difference for me, I said before that I used to be very critical of myself, if I made a mistake, I was very, very hard on myself. And I'd get in this shame cycle where I'd just shame myself, and then I'd end up making another mistake. Then I was mad about that. And then I'd end up doing, And so, once I realized that, or really accepted and internalized the fact that failures, mistakes, setbacks, drawbacks, they're in our lives for a reason. And to me, that reason is to help us, like we talked about, to grow from, to learn from. And we can't go through this life without mistakes. So how about we embrace it? Not like go seeking to like make a mistake, not like, intentionally make mistakes, but when we do, like seeing it as, once I started to see it as my failures as truly a learning point and started to be intentional about trying to learn from those things, it just made all the difference in the world. I started to forgive myself easier. I started to see that just because I made a mistake yesterday or earlier in the day, I was mad about something, doesn't mean the rest of my day is messed up. It just means that moment was a spot where I didn't live up to my potential or didn't feel that I did. So what's the rest of my day going to look like? And just made all the difference in the world for me.
Of course. It's a choice to allow your moment to leak into a minute, leak into an hour, leak into your day, and your day leak into a week leak into your month, and so on and so forth. It's a choice to recognize that. Sometimes it'd be a good thing to be a goldfish, right? Because they have like a 10-second memory.
Yeah.
They make a mistake and keep going forward.
The next thing, yeah.
And like you said, this is just going to speak to overall potential and being intentional. If you're being intentional with still following bad habits, you're clearly not living up to your potential.
Yep.
The mistakes that I feel like we're talking about is I'm looking to be great, and maybe I got triggered here and I'm human, and I made a mistake and got frustrated and said some things I didn't mean to. Those things are going to happen as we grow.
Yep.
And there's a difference of being human and naturally making mistakes as we grow to our full potential.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between that and choosing to not live up to our potential.
Exactly. Yeah. And also, recognizing that not that this is what we seek, not what we want, not that it's necessarily even okay if our goal is to be living up to our potential, but sometimes it's going to happen that we choose to not live in our potential, right? There's going to be times where to me, part of living up to my potential is getting up when I say I'm going to get up. When I tell myself I'm going to do something, then part of my integrity is keeping promises to myself even.
Sure.
So if I said I'm getting up at 6:00 and 6:00 comes around and I throw the covers over my head and turn off the alarm, go to bed till 7:30, then that's me choosing to not live up to my potential.
Sure.
And that'll happen. It's what we choose to do with it from there.
Yes.
Because sometimes we will. Sometimes we'll have those days, and it'll be really difficult to not just choose to just kind of give in to the natural wills of the world, I guess, is you can put it.
Well, like you said, we were talking the other day. I'm sure you're fine with me referencing this.
Yeah.
You had a super busy day and you decided that getting in partial workout was better than no workout.
Yeah.
The fact is let's say you do have one of the days that you sleep in for an hour and a half and you feel like your day's shot. It's way better to show up for the rest of your day than not at all.
Exactly.
So let's say you make a conscious choice to not live up to your potential. Fine. Whatever. What about the rest of your day?
Yeah. Yep.
Are you really going to throw away a whole day because you decided to sleep in for an hour and a half?
Yeah. And it's so easy to do.
It is.
It's so easy to get caught up in that if you're not being aware of where you're at, aware of where your thoughts are, and then striving to continually be intentional about having those thoughts, having those actions in the place that fits with your potential or fits with your visions and your goals.
Amen to that. So how do you stay intentional on a day-to-day basis and throughout your day?
Yeah. So one thing, and I'm not at all perfect at this. Like it's not like every day I have a fully intentional day, but my best days are days that I get up and honestly, regardless of the time that I get up, honestly, the best days are when I get up when I say I'll get up. So if it's 6:30, I'm up at 6:30. But starting my day with some form of gratitude, starting that off, whether it's with prayer or just like listing off 3 things that I'm grateful for, or taking 3 minutes to just list all the things I'm grateful for. Starting off with some gratitude and just being intentional about that, even if I'm like, I can't really think of what I'm grateful for, but I'll just kind of keep going with it. It eventually, every time that I've done it, even if it just makes that much difference in my day, it's a better start to my day than if I wasn't, practicing gratitude or having that kind of mindset in the beginning of the day. So gratitude's a great one. And then other things is just, like I mentioned earlier, what kind of things am I allowing into my mind, allowing into my body? If I'm intentional about those things, so for example, what am I listening to? One thing that I started to do is I would go on walks in the mornings, and at first I would just go on a walk and just listen to whatever was on my shuffle playlist or whatever, and then I started to realize like, I want to start my day off a little bit more intentional, and I want to start off my day more uplifted. So I put together this playlist of, it's just called my uplifting playlist, and it's about a 45-minute long playlist that takes about 45 minutes for me to do that walk, and that's what I listen to when I take the walk in the morning, is that those songs that are uplifting to me, that help me to feel good about myself, to feel empowered to help other people. So setting up little intentional practices or systems or things that has been a huge help for me, is little things. It's the simple things. I spent 2 years on a mission in West Africa, and in the country of Sierra Leone, there's the Mende tribe. Mende. So Mende. Mende.
Okay. Mende tribe.
And one of their, I'm going to get this wrong, but one of their kind of tribal sayings was Klo Klo Miajeve. And if I said that wrong, I apologize to anybody listening that
Nobody
knows how to
critique
say it. But yeah, Klo Klo Miajeve is how I remember it. But what that means is small drops of water make a mighty ocean. And so for me, it's the little intentional things, those little practices that help me to live an intentional life, have an intentional day.
I love that. So I want to share a fun fact, and then I want to share something else. You mentioned music and being intentional with that. Yeah. As a coach, it is just a subconscious thing that I do now. You can tell somebody's thought patterns and emotions and what they're going through based upon the music they're listening to.
I believe it. Huh.
If somebody's angry, they're not listening to woo kind of music,
Yeah, that's a good point.
If somebody's pumped up, they're listening to pumped up music. If they're chill, they're listening to chill music. Mm-hmm. You can directly understand somebody without asking any questions, just by listening to the music that they listen to.
Looking at their playlists on Spotify.
Exactly. And the other thing that came to mind is, and it didn't just come to mind, it is on top of my mind, I take cold showers every morning. That's one of my things that I'm very intentional about. I can tell you right now, I can't tell the only way that I can tell how big of a difference it makes for me is when I don't do it.
Yeah.
So you mentioned gratitude, even it makes a small difference in your day. Once you do it so much, it feels small, but it's the days that you don't do it that you're like,
oh, I'm missing that.
What did I do?
Yeah.
And so the days that you don't, and you're like, oh, man, my life is so hard. Why didn't I wake up on time? I don't have time to do my gratitude today. It takes like 5 seconds. Those are the days that you tell how much of a difference gratitude makes a difference on you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that gratitude is honestly an incredible tool, in my opinion, that when we're focused on something or on things that we're grateful for, we're not focused on the things that we don't have. We're focused on the things that we have, even if it's just, I had the opportunity to watch a bird fly by my window, and it was a pretty yellow bird. Like, I'm not focused on the rain that was outside that I didn't like because I have to go outside into it. I'm focused on that pretty yellow bird that I got to see.
Of course.
And to me, that opens up our minds to being able to see other things, other blessings, other opportunities even.
Of course.
It expands to more than just, I got to see a pretty little yellow bird.
I love that you bring that up. And that what causes me to go down to the thought pattern, and I just lost it, to be honest with you. It's going to come back to me, I have a feeling. Oh, yes.
There it is.
It was very important. Just kidding. It is important, but Anyways, everything's vibration, right? Everybody talks about the vibration, gratitude, vibrational love, because they're both very, very high vibrational things. The one thing that I want to bring into is the highest vibration that you could ever reach is true authenticity, being your true self.
Yeah.
And I believe that vibration links into gratitude and love. Is that if you're truly living your authentic life, that tells me you're being intentional with your life.
Yeah.
And that tells me that you're grateful for the things that you do, the things that you are, and the things that you have. And that tells me that you have the love that is authentic to you in your life.
Yeah.
So if you start being intentional with your day, naturally you're going to be more grateful for it. Naturally, you're going to start loving life more, which will allow you to get to your true authentic self.
I love that. That resonates. That vibrates. That's but absolutely. It's interesting that you brought up the cold showers. One thing that I actually am intending or having the intention to do is for the next month. Is today the last day of the month?
Yeah, 31st.
Okay, so starting tomorrow, I'm not taking any warm showers. All of my showers will be cold for a month. So I used to do, like, every morning I would do a cold shower, and maybe in the evening I would do like a warm shower after a workout or something. But just as an intentional thing, mind over matter, mind over body kind of thing, I'm doing a full month of no warm showers. So
I'm gonna hold you to that.
I was just gonna say, so hold me accountable.
You got me there. You let me know. Just kidding. I'm gonna text you every day. Did you take out any hot showers today?
No, I'm gonna do it. And it's something that I've actually done in the past, and I was like, I'm gonna bring that back. I've been looking for something to be a little bit intentional, kind of a challenge to do. And I was like, I'll start doing cold showers again. And then I thought, let's take one step further. I've done cold showers before. Let's do a little bit more no warm showers. Okay, here we go. So,
if there's one thing there's a lot of things I wish people would incorporate into their lives, truthfully, and obviously intentional is the main one, because then you're going to do everything right, mostly. Yeah. Except putting your hand in the cookie jar once in a while. Sure, but cold showers. If you're anxious, depressed, frustrated, mad, if you don't feel anything, if you're disappointed, anything, if you just take a cold shower, your life's going to change.
Oh man, it does. Like, it changes in an instant. Like, yeah.
And people, I had a conversation a while ago with my family, and they were like, why do you do that? Well, it works on your spirit, your mind, and your body. Most personal development tools work on one.
That's true.
You have to have a strong enough spirit, mind, and body to sit there in a cold shower. Oh, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I've talked to some people. They're like, oh, cold shower, that's not too bad. Like, wait, what kind of cold shower are you talking? Is it like it's cool, or are you... And that's the type of cold shower I'm talking about. So
me too. Yeah, I barely turn on my shower, and it kind of makes a weird noise, honestly.
Yeah.
But that's where it's the coldest.
Yeah.
And the truth is, it's just like anything, right? And this is what I'll say. we're talking about life, we're talking about cold showers, it's going to be applicable.
Mm-hmm.
God gifted you a life knowing how strong you are, but he believed that you were able to take the right steps. The devil is who made it easy for you to take the wrong step, and the easier step is to follow the devil.
Absolutely.
Before you get into that shower, it is easier not to do it. But God gifted you the ability to make that intentional choice, to know how strong you are, to turn on the cold shower.
Yeah. I love that. I absolutely agree with that. Like, I love how you put that God gives us these challenges, opportunities, whatever you want to call them, knowing that we have the ability, the strength, the capacities to take the step into those things, into that cold shower, essentially. I love that. It shows to me, kind of going back to when I was a little kid, I had parents, I had siblings, I had aunts and uncles and grandparents that really believed in me, and believed that I had the capacity, the abilities, the strength to be able to take those steps. And to add really the most important one to that you just brought up, like God, he absolutely puts us on this earth with all of the ability to do it. It's all inside us. Potential. I love the definition of potential. It's literally, it's latent capacities or abilities. I'm not quoting this directly, but it's latent capacities or abilities that are already there that just haven't been tapped into. Like, that's what potential is. It's already there. It just hasn't been brought out, unlocked, tapped into yet. And God sees that in us and gives us those opportunities. We just have to take them.
And it's a choice. And the truth is, it's just as easy as a choice to barely turn on your shower so it's the coldest as it is to turn it on warm.
Yep.
It's just a choice. That's all it is.
Yeah.
People think it's hard to make the right choice. No, that's your limiting belief.
Yeah.
The right choices are easy to make. They're easier to make. Because the moment you accomplish something, let's just say you get out of the cold shower, you immediately feel amazing.
Yeah.
Energized. You feel like you're on fire. Cold water actually like eliminates fat, not fully, obviously.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
helps
saying?
with that fat burn. Yeah.
You get out of the shower and you're like, man, I am sexy.
Yeah, all of your muscles are contracted.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see that six pack coming out. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's like,
and after you make those decisions to do good, if cold shower, reading a book, going on a run, whatever it is, or accomplishing a big goal, the journey to it might push you a little bit, might make you grow and get some thick skin. But on the end of it, you're going to love life.
Yeah.
But if you turn that cold water to warm, just as we're using this analogy with anything in life, you're not going to be fulfilled. Yeah. And at some point down the line, you're going to have regrets. And if you keep following this journey, at some point you're going to die, and you're going to die with those regrets. And you're going to die not living up to your potential.
Yeah. I actually, it's interesting that we're talking about this. I was actually listening to a podcast. I'm a big Ed Milet fan. I love a lot of his stuff. And I was listening to one today where he said that every time we do something that goes against our potential or against who we are, we choose to turn that knob to warm when we were saying we were going to do a cold shower. He said a small part of us dies. He said every time we do that, a small part of us just dies. And he said, so if we do that over and over and over and over again, we start to see us being further or feeling further and further away from our potential. We're actually not that far from it. It really just takes a choice or two to get back into it. But we start to feel so far from who we really are, from our potential of what we can really be, by just making those small choices. Like, oh yeah, I'll just today I'll do a warm shower, or today I'll have 3 cookies or 2 cookies when I've been saying I'm gonna hold off on sweets.
I agree. And just to go to that. Me and my wife went to a little party, and so we had cookies from it. And I allow myself sugar on date nights, Saturday nights and Sunday nights, and that's it. This was not a date night. I walked out in the kitchen and I was like, man, those look so good. And in my thought, again, the devil thinks you're weak. The devil really does think you're weak.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, maybe just for today, it won't be that bad. And I was like, hell no, I ain't doing that. I put those cookies up, I threw them in the freezer, and I haven't even thought about them until you referenced that.
Nice.
But I overcame something.
Yeah.
And the point is, it's easy to give into those pleasures.
Sure.
But those pleasures kill you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I've seen that in my life. I mean, honestly, recently I've had different new things and things that have been happening in my life where it's brought in new challenges and new opportunities to grow. And honestly, in the beginning of that, I wasn't choosing to grow. I just kind of reverted back to old ways. And I was like, I realized, you know what, like, I'm not being intentional right now. I've kind of reverted back to some things. So but that's the incredible thing to me about striving to live an intentional life is after you've done it for a little bit, even just a little bit, like you start to become really aware of when you stop doing those things.
Yes.
And it actually, the pain is kind of increased, at least in my experience. The pain is increased because you're like, this isn't me. And this is my potential and this is what I'm doing. And I know what it's like to be living up here. So when I'm choosing to do differently, the pain is, in my opinion, at least my experience, it's more so.
I think that's for anybody's experiences, honestly. And the only reason anybody could say that different is if they're unaware.
Yeah.
Of goodness. Because even if somebody, let's just say somebody doesn't believe they have full potential.
Sure.
The only reason they're saying that is because of how much pain they're suffering in. They won't admit it. But they ease over the pain. They put on a fake Band-Aid by saying, I don't have potential. That's why I'm not great. It's not my fault I was born into this life. It's not my fault my parents sucked.
Yeah.
It's not my fault that I had these hardships. It's not my fault I got pregnant at 16 or whatever the case is.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, all those things that happen to you is your choice. You're making those things the definition and the reason that you don't have a potential. And all those things that happen to you could be the reason that you do have potential.
Yeah.
All the things that have happened to me happened for me. And that's why I'm sitting on this podcast.
There you go.
Because if I didn't transform those things, there'd be nothing to talk about. I didn't transform my life. How can I teach you how to live a prosperous life and transform your life if I didn't do it for me?
Yeah, that's absolutely. I mean, we're most qualified to, at least what you just said brought up the quote that we're most qualified to help the person that we used to be.
Yeah.
Or that we once were. Yeah, just like you said, it's those mistakes, it's those failures, it's those things that qualify us to be able to help other people, that qualify us to be able to step into our potential and to be able to help others to step into their potential. It's not the successes and the achievements and those things. Those things give us maybe some credibility or maybe give us some experience and maybe even some more opportunity. But it's the grinds and the failures and the mistakes that actually qualifies to be able to step into that and to help other people in that. And I really believe that we're in this life, we're put on this earth into families, we're put on this earth into communities and neighborhoods. There's a reason that we congregate together, whether it's a church or it's a concert or whatever it is, there's a reason that we end up doing things together. And to me, it's because we're naturally, we're here to help each other out. Like
100%.
All the way through.
So this just came to mind, but as a father, I would, and I already know this answer, I assume you want to teach your daughter to be intentional, to live up to her potential.
Absolutely.
What are the things that you do to teach her to be intentional for you?
I love that question.
Live up to her potential.
Yeah, I love that. It's something that I actually tend to ask myself quite a bit, because it's, I'll answer the question, then I'll actually have a little bit more to add to it. But I strive to be intentional myself, right? One of the main things that I think has made the biggest difference for me, in feeling like I am helping my daughter to at least see a pattern of intentionality. The thing that's made the biggest difference is, again, intentionally loving myself, learning to love myself. Because what that does, at least what I've observed that does, is it allows my daughter to see me being able to be my best. If I'm not loving myself, if I don't care about myself, I'm not going to do the things. I'm not going to be consistently intentional. I'm not going to be keeping it at a cold shower. I'm not going to be doing those things. And so when she sees that, she sees a different light in me. She sees a difference in me. I don't have any. I don't feel like I'm an expert at being a parent or anything like that, and so I don't know that I have any specific like practices or anything that way. But for me, the example is the biggest part, and the consistency in that. And so that's what I really strive to do. And then trying to instill some of those things in her, like in little conversation. I mean, she's 3, almost 4. And so in little conversations that we have, just talking to her in a way that helps her not only to know that I love her, but to help her to love herself. Like asking her questions of are you smart? Are you strong? And naturally, most little kids are going to say, yeah, they are. And so what's cool when I've done that with my daughter is she'll say, yeah, I'm pretty. Yeah, I'm smart. Yeah, I'm strong. I'm fast. I'm, all of these things. And to me, that's one way to kind of help her for me to be intentional of helping her to agree about things that are really great about herself. So I don't know if that exactly answers what you're trying to.
It 100% does. But and honestly, I'm just glad you went there, because how can you? And I love that you point out you're not a perfect parent as well. First, I want to point that out, because the perfect parent is going to cause more trauma on a kid than a parent that's not perfect.
Oh yeah, I mean, none of us are going to be. It's my firm belief that there's no kids that are not at least a little bit messed up by their parent. Like,
they have to be.
It's how it goes. Like as parents, and I'm not a perfect parent like we talked about. I'm constantly trying to learn how to do it, and some of that is trial and error, and so I'm erring. So,
and it's not to say that some things are clearly not okay.
Of course, yeah.
But you're not. How can you be perfect?
Yeah.
You could learn. You could read 10 parenting books or more. You could be a parent psychologist for all I matter. You're still human.
No.
And again, you could still do everything right. At some point, let's just even this is just an example.
Yeah, and
this could be way off. This is a personal opinion. But the Mormon bubble here in Utah.
Okay, yeah.
You get raised. There's no evil in the world. And I'm not saying every family's like this in Utah, but there's a lot of families with bubbles. The parent believes they're being a good parent by showing them that the world is perfect. And the kid has to go figure out on their own that the world's not good. It's good, but there is some evil.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that. So I didn't grow up here in Utah. I grew up in an area where there wasn't actually a lot of LDS presence, and
sure.
So, but Yeah, it is interesting. Any time in any family, right? There's belief systems, whether it's a religious belief, whether it's just simply beliefs about the world or beliefs about family or whatever the case is. There's belief systems, and because none of us have all the answers, none of us have it all right. There's always going to be, and none of us perceive or understand God's plan exactly how he has it, how he understands it, right?
Imagine if we did.
Right. I mean, yeah. So to me, what that means is we're all going to have it at least a little bit wrong. Right?
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like that's it's going to happen. We do our best as parents and as kids growing up. As we become adults, I've found that my parents did the absolute best that they could. They're incredible parents, made mistakes themselves, and they'll admit to mistakes. I'm a parent now, and I'm like, I've absolutely made mistakes. And so what's cool about it is it's kind of goes back to what we've been talking about with living up to our potential. So like if we were to narrow it down to my potential as a father, part of my potential as a father is recognizing where I've made a mistake. If I need to seek forgiveness, yeah, hey, Alice, I'm sorry for yelling at you, or I'm sorry for, whatever the case is. Part of my potential is continuing to move forward, continuing to grow, continuing to bounce back if I made a mistake or something that way.
And that's part of the journey of reaching our potential is yelling once in a while and apologizing for making the mistake, whatever that case is.
Yeah.
So I love that you say that. And it's staying aware of and being intentional with, I made a mistake. This is how I'm going to transform, and then executing.
Yep.
Man, this has been amazing.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming on.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on.
So I just want to recognize you for a moment, man. I mean, okay. I've seen you for, we've known each other for a while now.
Yeah, a little while now. Uh-huh.
And I feel like you've gone through so much growth.
Thank you.
But I feel like you're reaping the rewards now of everything and all the growth that you've gone through.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a lot more growth to do, and I sometimes I used to say that as, yeah, I have so much more to do, as kind of like a self-deprecating. I don't know if that's how you even say that word, but I used to say it that way. Now I go, I have a lot more growth to do, and that makes me excited. Like, I have so much more growth that can happen. So I appreciate that. Yeah, I have had a lot of growth, and things have been, and I also have a lot of growth to come, and that's the beauty of it to me, is I get to just keep expanding my being. I get to keep becoming more of who Camren is.
Absolutely. So the last question I ask everybody is, what's your definition of a prosperous life?
Ooh, I love that. So to me, my definition of a prosperous life is, I'm going to come back to intentionality, is living intentionally. When we're intentional, at least from my experience, when we're intentional about how we live our life, we start to see the blessings that are there. We start to see the opportunities that are there. And when we're intentional about seeing the opportunities, it helps us to be more intentional about seizing those opportunities and being grateful for those blessings and taking advantage of the things that are given to us, the talents and the gifts that are given to us. And so to me, being able to access those through living intentionally helps me to live prosperously, because I can access all of those things at almost any time throughout my life. So
amazing. That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Absolutely.
And I'll just give you the space to share one last message with the audience. Anything that you have, whether on today's topic or anything you have, what's one last message for the world?
It's just going to kind of go along with what we've talked about, that everybody is born with the ability, the capacity to do great things with their life, big and small. Like it's I heard a quote that said the the DNA, the blood of the King of Kings runs through your veins. Like it is in everybody innately to be able to do great things. No one is born average. We just get to choose whether we want to step into that or not. So I just encourage everybody to take a look at themselves. Like I love being able to look at myself and go, how more can I expand? How more can I grow? And seeing that I can choose to do that.
Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
That in mind, everybody, thank you so much for showing up today. Again, as we begin to transform our lives, we inspire other people to transform as well. So if you found this podcast valuable, down below is going to be Camren's link so you can follow him along his journey. And most importantly, go ahead and subscribe so that you can get more of this information every Monday and Wednesday. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody.